Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for standing by for Baozun's first quarter of 2020 earnings conference call. And at this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. After the management's prepared remarks, there will be a question-and-answer session. As a reminder, today's conference call is being recorded. I will now turn the meeting over to your host for today's call, Ms. Wendy Sun, Investor Relations Director of Baozun. Please proceed, Wendy.
Thank you, operator. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Baozun's first quarter 2020 earnings release was distributed earlier today and is available on our website at ir.baozun.com, as well as on global newswire services. On the call today from Baozun, we have Mr. Vincent Qiu, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Junhua Wu, Chief Growth Officer, and Mr. Robin Lu, Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Qiu will review business operations and company highlights, followed by Mr. Lu, who will discuss financials and guidance. They will all be available to answer your questions during the Q&A section that follows. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that this conference call contains forward-looking statements within the meaning of Section 21E of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, as amended and as defined in the U.S. Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. These forward-looking statements are based upon management's current expectations and current market and operating conditions and relate to events that involve known or unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors, all of which are difficult to predict and many of which are beyond the company's control, which may cause the company's actual results, performance, or achievement to differ materially from those in the forward-looking statements. Further information regarding these and other risks, uncertainties, or factors is included in the company's filings with the U.S. SEC. The company does not undertake any obligation to update any forward-looking statement as a result of new information, future events, or otherwise, except as required under applicable law. Finally, please note that unless otherwise stated, all figures mentioned during this call are in RMB. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Vincent Qiu. Vincent, please go ahead.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you all for joining us. The world continues to feel the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. During this difficult time, nothing is more important than ensuring the health and the safety of you and your families. Hope you're all well and stay healthy, like most companies in the world. We faced a challenging macroeconomic environment at the start of 2020. Facing the challenge and taking proactive responses, we've shown great resilience and achieved another fruitful operating and financial results. While COVID-19 impacted overall consumption and the growth of e-commerce during the quarter, we mitigated the impact by optimizing and innovating our operational and marketing capabilities. For the first quarter, both GMV and total net revenues grew by 18% year-over-year, exceeding our previous expectations. Although some brands temporarily delayed their e-commerce plans as a result of the pandemic, we continue to add many exciting new brands to our portfolio during the quarter. We were able to add a net total of 8 new brand partners, including a leading European home furnishing retailer, a few luxury brands, as well as a few domestic brands in the FMCG category, which grew particularly fast during the pandemic. Meanwhile, as we deploy our high-quality growth strategy, we also made progress in optimizing our category mix and ramping up newly added brands, which contributed to a notable improvement in our blended take rate for the quarter. In contrast to the wider e-commerce industry suffered from serious logistics disruption, we were able to maintain our LSG operations, which was critical to ensuring business continuity for our brand partners and sustaining their e-commerce strategies throughout the COVID-19 period. Although these efforts led to incremental costs, the ability to offer uninterruptible services and the fulfillment capacity, even during the most challenging environment, have been immensely appreciated by our brand partners. As a result, we are pleased to be more integrated into our brand partners' supply chains and transit from a traditional e-commerce logistics partner to an O2O integrated partner that is supporting many of them in digesting offline inventory and in minimizing inventory risk. As a digital strategy enabler, our role is not only to ensure that the brand partners are able to merchandise and fulfill orders, but more critically, to support them in navigating this challenging environment and driving growth opportunities. Throughout this process, we strategically enhanced our ability to revamp e-commerce and generate high-quality leads and demand for brand partners. For example, we continue to strengthen initiatives to expand consumer touchpoints. We increased our efforts in actively engaging with users through live streaming and leading short video social platforms such as Douyin and Kuaishou, which consumers spend increasing amount of time on while staying at home. Meanwhile, we adjusted and optimized our operations and strategy to adapt to a stay-at-home economy, which is characterized by increased time spent indoors and a growing consumer theme for indoor entertainment, remote working, and health and wellness. Let me share with you an example. In early March, before any recovery in e-commerce traffic, we helped one leading international food and beverage chain to organize its marketing campaign built around the theme of the so-called Cherry Blossom Festival. We organized a digital cherry blossom show and hosted a campaign to allow people to express their best wishes. We are very proud to have partnered with this brand to promote their thoughtful campaign and contribute to building their digital consumer relationships. Just to quantify the results, this specific marketing campaign helped the brand partner to generate over 500,000 viewers. It was also top ranked by Alibaba's most successful live streaming efforts over that time period, and drove an increase in conversion rates, a significant achievement that resulted in strong online sales during the pandemic. I'm deeply proud of the great tenacity and agility of our organization displayed during the pandemic, and in particular, our technological aptitude during the pandemic. Rooted our vision, technology empowers future success, we have consistently focused on developing technology-driven systematic business contingency plans and innovative and tactical solutions to facilitate our brand partners' success. Lastly, we are very encouraged by the economic recovery we have been seeing in China since March, which has further strengthened in May. We believe that the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of online retail, and our brand partners will continue to enhance and prioritize their digital go-to-market and expansion strategies. Our proven capabilities in driving innovation and digitalization have positioned us well for a post-pandemic boom in demand. We are confident in our ability to capture this mid to long-term growth opportunities and reaffirm our commitment to driving our brand partners' e-commerce businesses to the next level. I will now pass the call over to Robin to go over our financials for the quarter. Thank you.
Thanks, Vincent. Despite the uneven impact on different categories caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, our balanced category mix allowed us to nimbly navigate through this challenging environment. While the pandemic impacted our margins in the first quarter, we ensured business continuity and reinforced our differentiation and the leading position in the market. We strengthened our reputation by demonstrating our outstanding flexibility and reliability to adapt to changing conditions. We are proud of these accomplishments despite such adverse market conditions and scalability in our business executions, even during one of the toughest times. As China's economy recovery continues, we firmly believe that we remain on track with our high-quality growth strategy and will re-establish growth in our non-GAAP operating profit in the second quarter of 2020. With that in mind, I will now go over the fourth quarter 2020 financial results in detail. We believe a year-over-year comparison is the best way to review our performance. Our percentage change I'm going to give will be on that basis. Once again, please note all figures that I mentioned will be in RMB. Total GMV during the quarter increased by 17.6% to 9.2 billion. Within that, distribution GMV grew by 10% to 782.9 million, and our non-distribution business GMV increased by 18% to 8.4 billion. Total net revenues increased by 18.4% to 1.52 billion. Breaking this down, product sales revenue increased by 13.5% to 701.1 million, and the service revenue increased by 22.9% to 822.5 million during the quarter. We benefited from the relatively healthy growth in categories such as sportswear, luxury, FMCG, and food and health. On the other hand, men's and women's clothing, which accounted for a relatively small portion of our total GMV, faced challenges and generated relatively slower growth. All in all, GMV of our apparel category, which includes sportswear, luxury, and men's and women's clothing, still grew by approximately 30% year-over-year during the quarter. In contrast, the demand for personal care products in appliances category was very soft due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Total costs and operating expenses were 1.5 billion compared with 1.2 billion in the same quarter last year. In particular, cost of products increased to 590 million from 509 million last year, primarily due to increased sales from the distribution model. Due to incremental contribution from new brands and deeper discounts offered to promote sales during COVID-19, our gross margin for product sales declined to 15.8% compared with 17.6% a year ago. Our blended gross margin was 61.3%, representing an increase of 80 bps from last year, which was mainly due to an increase in the proportion of service revenue. Fulfillment expenses increased to 413 million from 288 million last year, mainly due to increased revenue contribution from the consignment model, increasing use of premium delivery services, and incremental expenses related to COVID-19. Especially with many economy delivery partners suspending operations during the peak of the outbreak, we switched to a more premium delivery partners to maintain ample fulfillment capacity, which also led to a higher fulfillment expense ratio. As percentage of GMV, our fulfillment expense ratio increased to 4.5% from 3.7% a year ago. Sales and marketing expenses increased to 366 million from 311 million last year, and as a percentage of GMV, our sales and marketing expenses ratio remained flat at 4%. Technology and content expenses increased to 96 million from 88 million a year ago. We continued to invest in innovation and productization during the pandemic in a very disciplined, focused, and streamlined manner. During the fourth quarter of 2020, our investment in future innovation and productization totaled $26.7 million, compared with $23 million last year. In driving greater operating leverage against the expanding scale of our business, technology and the content expenses as a percentage of GMV improved slightly to 1% from 1.1% last year. G&A expenses increased to $50 million from $45 million last year, which reflected our increased spending in administrative, corporate strategy, and business planning staff as the business scales, offset by some cost control initiatives. During the quarter, income from operations decreased to $13 million from $46 million in the same quarter of last year, and on a non-GAAP basis, income from operations was $37 million, with non-GAAP operating margin of 2.4%. Offsetting interest income, interest expense totaled $7.3 million, compared with $6.1 million a year ago. The increase in interest expense was mainly due to the issuance of convertible bonds in April 2019, which include a debt accretion treatment, which is a non-cash item on the CB financing accounting standards. In the fourth quarter, net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of Baozun totaled $2.2 million. Basic and diluted net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of Baozun per ADS were both $0.04 for the quarter. Non-GAAP net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of Baozun totaled $26 million. Basic and diluted non-GAAP net income attributable to ordinary shareholders of Baozun per ADS were both $0.44 for the quarter. As of March 31st, 2020, we had $1.7 billion in cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments, compared with $2 billion as of December 31st, 2019. The decrease in cash and cash equivalents and short-term investments was mainly due to some delays in payments from our few brand partners during the pandemic, but we are seeing accelerated collection so far in the second quarter. Turning to guidance, provided the macroeconomic environment does not deteriorate further, we anticipate that GMV will grow during the second quarter of 2020 by at least 25% compared with the same period last year. We expect total net revenues during the second quarter of 2020 to be between $2.05 billion and $2.10 billion, which represents a growth rate of 20% to 23% compared with the same period last year. We expect service revenue to grow at a faster rate than total net revenue during the second quarter of 2020. This concludes our prepared remarks. Thank you. Operator, we are now ready to begin the Q&A session. Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now begin the question and answer session. And for your questions, please press star and the number 1 on your telephone keypads and wait for your name to be announced. And to cancel the request, it is the pound or hash key. And to give more people the opportunity to ask questions, please keep yourselves to only one question at a time. Once again, it is star 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Binnie Wong of HSBC. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, management. Thank you for taking my question. I think it's very understandable with the pandemic situation on the 1Q result, and congratulations on the 2Q stronger than expected outlook on your 2Q top line. My first question is that if you look at the pandemic actually hitting a lot more of the MNC brand, international brands, given that they are form a key part, a majority part of our customer base, how would that impact their advertising or their online marketing budget? How would that impact us as well? And then second question is that regards to the upcoming June 18 promotions, how will you see the sales compared to last year? Do you see actually like a pent-up demand, a stronger than expected recovery in customer demand? And also this year, how will brands so far, positioning differently? Thank you so much.
Okay. So, Vinny, this is Junhua from Baozun. So thank you for the question. So the first one you asked me, so let me clarify, the question was about Q1. You said, how did those international brands spending their marketing budget for online? Is that right?
Thank you, Junhua. Actually, I'm more curious on the outlook. I think 1Q is very understandable, the impact there. But I think I'm more concerned in regards to the rest of the year, given the pandemic might hurt some of the international brands, their sales performance overseas. And then would their allocation to the online marketing budget in China. So I'm more curious on the outlook. Thank you.
Okay, I got it. So we all know that we had a very tough February, and so basically every platform, they canceled all their online campaign, and the traffic dramatically engaged a very negative downtrend. But starting from this March, and especially after the campaign called a Queen's Day and new arrivals for Spring-Summer campaign, so we had a relatively very nice March, and all those kind of traffic in terms of the volume and the quantity has back to normal. So right after the first quarter, so all those international brands, they've been reallocating all their marketing spending, especially from their offline resources, their trade marketing to online. So actually, we had a relatively, a bigger range of, online marketing services budget, to serve in the future, especially when a lot of international brands realize that the current phenomena, kind of the trend like live stream and rich content marketing is being very efficient at driving a lot of traffic and consumer engagement for online and making transactions. So all in all, we are looking forward to see, the recovery is getting better, and we are very confident in allocating more online marketing budget, and especially provided by Baozun services. And that's your question number one. So your second question is related to the 618 performance overall compared to last year. So actually, this is the second day of the 618 campaign. So I can only give you some color based on the 2 days, performance. Yesterday was the Children's Day, also the first day of the first wave of the 618 campaign, one of the 3 waves around the whole campaign. So we had a very good performance, by the pre-warm season and the pre-sale period. So basically, in terms of the volume and the volume of the traffic and the quantity of the traffic, so we can definitely see a higher conversion rate compared to last year. So the mechanism of the 618 campaign was very different from last year's. Last year they had a very kind of a big interactive engagement with consumers. But this year they strengthened all their mindsets into different categories by organizing them very well, one after another, to just focus on the right accurate consumer group to target a higher conversion rate. So if you look into the traffic volume, so compared to last year, we might not see a huge increase. But if you consider the conversion rate and consider the quality of the traffic, it's definitely better than last year. So we can see that based on better investment, consider the pricing strategy and the assortment strategy from a lot of international brands and our brand served for this campaign. So we are foreseeing a better 618 for this year.
Thank you, Junhua. That's very helpful. And congrats again on a strong outlook on 2Q. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the line of John Choi of Daiwa Capital. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. My question is on your 2Q guidance. I think on the prepared remarks, it says that the service revenue is likely going to grow faster this coming quarter. Could management elaborate on more detail on this, given that I guess it's likely going to come from advertising, etc., and how would that impact our profitability? I think also it says non-GAAP operating profit will likely continue to improve. And just quickly on top of that, I think since the recovery since March was also mentioned, can you kind of show the latest trends? I think you just mentioned earlier about this June 18th, but what are some of the categories that you see more obviously improving versus 1Q? Thank you.
Hi, John. It's Robin. We provide outlook for Q2. Actually, from our guidance and our description, we see, back in Q1, we see the very soft demand from our distribution model, which is mainly in the personal care products for the appliances. And after today, I think we still see a very slow recovery about this category, which may have some impact on our product sales in Q2. On the other hand, for the men's and the women's clothing category, I think we see a faster recovery right now. And for the other category, like sportswear, like luxury, we see very strong demand. We just started 6/18 now, and we see a strong growth for this part. So that's the overall picture of our category growth. Hello, John?
Yes, thank you. Just on the service revenue, is that on back of those, apart from that, any color on the advertising or other services that are going to be ramping up on 2Q?
Yeah, for the other services in Q2, we see a recovery. Some are very strong from the brand about the digital marketing services and some other services, especially with right now it's very hot live streaming digital marketing channels, and we see the strong rebound from Q1 to Q2.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question is from the line of Alicia Yap of Citigroup. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, management. Thanks for taking my questions. Congrats on the solid result. I have a qualitative questions on your brand relationship. So during your communications with your global brands the last 3 to 4 months, are there any noticeable changes of their commitment or the strategy in terms of how they view of the production's changes they need, or the marketing initiatives towards the China market? With issues in home markets, are more foreign brands treating China as the must-win battle this year? So if what kind of operation changes that you anticipate you need to support them? And then on the other hand, are there any brands that actually become more cautious in light of the recent U.S.-China tension? Thank you.
Okay, so this is Junhua. So let me ask the first question related to the brand strategy, might change during the post-COVID-19 stuff, and Robin can give you some color in terms of the relationship between the U.S. market and the China market. So yes, for the first quarter, a lot of international brands, especially when they have a lot of offline DTC business, direct-to-consumer business, they realize that online becomes very efficient for their overall business proportion. And they have been allocating offline resources to online in terms of their marketing budget, in terms of offline inventory, and in terms of a lot of their internal talents. So right after the first quarter, when we realized that China might already pass through all the COVID-19 stuff, and globally we had another outbreak, with a lot of affecting a lot of our international brand partners. So their global headquarters, and the headquarters in their country has been shutting down a lot of their offline stores, which increased their attention to the Chinese market. So they've been, paying more attention about how can we do more business and, rely on a strong partnership with us to do more online business, especially when their global has been, facing the same kind of issues for the second half of the quarter. So I think, in the long run, and especially in the fashion, sports, and luxury category, So we're seeing a lot of attention shifting from their headquarters to China, and we are feel very comfortable and confident about can engage a better business result in the future.
Okay, Alicia, let me answer the second part of your question. In general, we didn't see any change, or impact from U.S.-China relationship issues. I think the reason is, the most of the brands in China have been famous brands that have been localized in China for many years. Whether it's their supply chain or their branding has been in China people for many years, and we didn't see any interruption about this right now. But regarding the supply chain, I think some of the cross-border products, has been, interrupted a little bit because of the shortage of supply chain, and now we see the recovery now. But fortunately, the cross-border business is only very immaterial part of our business in our whole picture. So we think that everything's normal, and more importantly, China is recovering very fast right now, and the outlet store opens, and the brands they pay more attention to the online sales, so that we can integrate offline and online together. So I think we can benefit that in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question is from Thomas Chong of Jefferies. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thanks, management, for taking my questions, and congratulations on a solid set of results. I have two questions. My first question is more about the second half outlook. After June 18th, how should we think about our performance in Q3 and Q4 in terms of the GMV side? And secondly, can management also comment about our GMV mix by different categories like apparel, consumer electronics, and FMCG in Q1 and Q2 respectively? Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Thomas. It's Robin again. You may notice we don't provide the whole year outlook in this early release because we think there's still uncertainty in the macro issues, so we don't provide for the second half of the year. However, based on our judgment right now, I think we are pretty positive in Q2 performance, and with our strategy of high quality growth, we think we can keep that trend in Q3 and Q4. But based on that, there is uncertainty in the macro. We cannot provide detailed numbers on that. What I want to say is, just as I specified in the prepared remarks, our non-GAAP operating profit will be recovered in Q2, and also include our non-GAAP operating margin will be improved versus last year. Thank you. So for the second question, I think I can keep going to answer second question. In Q2, we see, just now I said, we see the very good continuous growth in luxury, in sportswear, and the men's and women's clothing getting recovered, faster. But personal care products, our product sales or distribution model is still very strong. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Tina Long of Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you, management, for taking my questions. I have a quick question on the portfolio refinement project, because management has mentioned in the past that we want to phase out some under-earned brands. So how's any progress on that front in the first quarter? And also, what will be the roughly net number of brands we have in the pipeline to add for the full year or for the first half? Also, what business model we will actually, for those new brands, we actually adopt? Thank you.
Sure. It's Robin. I think high quality growth is one of our core strategies. Under that strategy, the refinement of our portfolio is one of the approach to achieve the high quality growth. And normally, bi-weekly we have the in and out meeting to evaluate our pipeline and evaluate the brands we are serving with profitability and some other factors. And we think that's kind of like our very routine work to do. And thanks, we have a very strong pipeline to pop up. So that's why we can do that. But we don't provide the numbers for the whole year, because of the same reason, the uncertainty for that. So I can tell you that now we are discussing with very strong pipeline partners to come in, just like, for example, in Q1, even with this outbreak of the COVID-19, we still have 8 net adding in our new stores and new brands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robin.
Thank you. Our next question is from Joyce Ju of Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Please go.
Good evening, Vincent, Junhua, and Robin. Thanks for taking my question. I have a question actually regarding the platform development. We know like this year we actually see in the brands actually performing very well on the Tmall like we operated. But I think last year we also mentioned a lot. We tried to kind of exploring new platforms. Such as WeChat, such as like a Little Red Book. And this year we also know a lot of other platforms also introducing new function of like live streaming shopping. Just wondering from the Baozun perspective, have we actually see a lot of like activities in terms of launching new platforms for brands, like say in TikTok, or like Kuaishou, or like other live streaming platforms, or if we see any new channels evolving during this like post-pandemic situation. Thanks.
Hi Joyce, it's Robin again. My answer is yes. There are more platforms coming up, and at our standpoint, we as we are ramping up our business with a mini program in WeChat, and we made a great progress. For example, I think we are in the trend of forming up a business model. For example, we integrate live streaming, store operations, online versus offline, and the group management together, and we are within the pandemic, we helped the brand very a lot, and in the mini program integration, and also we are testing Douyin and Kuaishou, as was mentioned in Vincent's remarks. I think all of them are still in a very early stage, and even for the numbers is not mature for us. But I think that's in the different steps. For example, new programs, we are making greater progress than the others. But our activity is to integrate all the platforms and test all the platforms and form the Baozun specified business model to work with that. Is our plan.
Yes, thank you, Robin. I just want to have a small follow-up on this question. Like, as we are doing different like new projects with integrating with those new platforms, are we actually will see a further expansion in our IT headcount in order to launching these kind of technology, new technology or new platform integration?
My answer is no. I don't think we have much expansion in the IT headcount, and as we specified last quarter, our growth rate for the IT spending is about like under 15%. In our number in Q1, you can see, our growth rate is under 10%. So I will keep this kind of like a growth rate very minimal and almost flat. for the whole year.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Once again, for those who wish to ask a question, it is star one on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. And to give others a chance to ask, please limit yourselves to only one question at a time. Once again, it is star one to ask a question. Our next question is from the line of Tian Hall of CH Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, management. Congratulations on the first quarter in this kind of really hard time. So my question is regarding the brands. So as we already have a lot of international brands, I believe that there are lots of domestic brands are also have a strong need or demand for online e-commerce operation and the services. So I believe you guys inevitably will get into a domestic market. So regarding domestic brands, is their economics, stickiness, and the core value different than the international brands? And also, what do you think about domestic brand development in 2020? Is that going to be one of your primary targets? So that's the first question. A very quick second question is, can you give us some updates regarding the mini apps development for the brands you're helping? So that's the two questions. Thank you.
Okay, it's Robin. Back to last year, we talked about domestic brands. That's right. It was one of our strategies to achieve our performance. And in Q1, within this 8 new brand addition, almost half, coming from domestic brands. I think with the testing for the last year, we knew there was a different arena in the domestic brand. For example, they need more integration between the online and offline, and they need more system support than the international brands, and also they need more like a dynamic, digital marketing services from us. And I think we accommodate this kind of capabilities to the domestic brand. In addition, regarding our take rate, we don't think there is a much difference as a group, much difference from the international brand. It's different by the brand, different by brand, but there is no much difference between the international and domestic. The key issue is what kind of like a service, or customized service you can provide to the different group. So we are very confident on the domestic brand and more confident than last year about this kind of achievement. So, Tianhao, what's your second question, please?
Regarding the mini app?
Program.
Yeah. Progress,
Just now, I think in the last question I mentioned about that, we are integrating, we call the 4-in-1, which means, we integrate the live streaming store operations, CDS, we call it online versus offline, or the one inventory, and also, group operations together, and the form that we call a 4-in-1 service. And we are about to figure out, how we can work with the brand partner for that. And even this afternoon, I talked with our management in the mini app, group, and we are very confident on the progress. And also with COVID-19, more and more offline stores pay more attention to the mini app, and they want to, invest it better, and which, give us great opportunities in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. That's all my question.
Thank you. Next question is from Sally Chan of CLSA. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good evening, management. Thank you for taking my question. I should have two questions. One is on the 2Q guidance that we gave. We gave a GMV guidance of at least 25% year-on-year and revenue of 20 to 23% year-on-year. It seems our guidance is quite conservative if we consider the pent-up demand, and then if we try to reconcile that with the broader Tmall GMV growth quarter to date. I'm just wondering if management could give some color on the drivers that we should be considering here. Is it we're just being more conservative given we had a great Q2 last year and some of our key categories like small appliances did really well? Or is it because of more of like a category mix, like, maybe fashion is still not fully back to normal? And on that, do you have any comments on the apparel inventory levels? How are positioning for that? And then the second question is actually on the margin guidance, because we gave a guidance of 7 to 8 just the EBIT margin, I think midpoint of that at the conference call last quarter for this year. So just wondering if we have some update on the guidance, given our 1Q margins were actually much more resilient than what we expected. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Robin. Let's answer our second question first. We don't have change in our last quarter's explanation about the midpoint between 7 and 8% of our non-GAAP operating margin. We are very confident to achieve that so far. And just now I said in Q2 we will get the fully recover about our non-GAAP operating profit and operating margin. So for the first question, it's not very clear in your over the phone. If I understand right, I would say we have a different categories with some getting recover faster, some get slower, and some are pretty soft, as I explained just now. And also we see the category mix. We can achieve what we announced, in the outlook, and especially, for example, in the luxury, we get a much faster growth rate than the average, and also for the new brands we add in the last year, we see it has a much expanding market share, or the percentage-wise over the total GMV. And also contribute to the because of the ramp up, contribute to the take rate. So that's kind of like very positive for us. And in overall, we are very confident on our progress right now.
I'm sorry.
So you may have further questions for the first one.
Yes. So maybe do you have like some comments on the sort of the apparel inventory levels? I think some platforms are sort of indicating they see higher excess inventories in the industry. So just wondering how are we positioning for that to help our brands as well?
Yeah, about the inventory, be aware we don't own the apparel inventory. We are in a consignment model. However, we help the brands to integrate offline and online inventory, and we help them in the mini app to sell the inventory for them. That creates more opportunities from our system support and our operation support for this. But the inventory, we understand the industry issues. But what I can say is, we get a faster recovery than we expect.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is from Billy Leong of Haitong International. Please go ahead.
Hi, management. Congrats on the results, and thanks for taking my question. Just a question on our Q2 guidance again. Now, the GMV expectation is slightly faster than our revenue guidance, so that implies probably a sequential decline in take rate. Now, I know it's only a little bit, but could management just run through our assumptions behind these two numbers, the GMV guidance and the revenue guidance for quarter two? And just to follow up on that, we mentioned about live streaming services. Could we just try to understand, in addition to these live streaming services, is that going to be take rate enhancing or take rate dilutive? Thank you.
Okay, so when we calculate take rate, we use our service revenue and the service GMV. I think that the question you raised about the revenue guidance, mainly because of our personal care products in our distribution model, which we specify is still much lower than we expect. So I don't think there is an impact on our take rate overall. And you can see, with our numbers in Q1, you see we have an improvement in the take rate in Q1. That's kind of like the case. And about what's the second question?
The second question is on live streaming services, whether or not that's going to be positive or negative on our take rates in the longer run. Thank you.
Thank you. We got the question. This is Vincent. Live streaming is emerging service way for the brand to touch point with the consumers, of course. We all can see this trend. It is happening very fast. So as a company, Baozun is very actively participating in this kind of marketing activities with brands. So we help the brand to organize the whole thing. And right now it's like a general marketing service revenue to us. We just deliver the service to get the revenue. But I think the live streaming market is changing very fast. We are really seeing some trend from the KOLs down to the KOCs, for example. So we are closely follow this trend and trying to develop a better business model when we engage with the brand clients with no matter KOL or KOC kind of activities. Of course, targeting getting more service revenues and deliver more values to the brand in a short to mid-term time period.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last question is from the line of Natalie Wu of CICC. Please go.
Hi, it's Fei Tong Zhang on behalf of Natalie Wu. Thanks for taking my question and congrats on the solid results. My question is regarding to the margin trend. You've explained the drop in the gross profit margin is due to a newly required brand partner. How should we expect the gross profit margin going forward in the second quarter and for the full year? And also my second question is regarding to your cash flow. Given the pandemic, how was our free cash flow in the first quarter, and how should we expect our cash flow and cash position going forward post the pandemic under our high quality strategy? Two questions. Thanks.
Okay, so it's Robin. About the gross profit margin, I would say in Q2 we still see the soft demand from the personal care products, which will drag down a little bit our gross margin. In comparison with Q1, I would say there is some recovery about gross profit, but it's not back to the normal level, which we always saw in the past, at 18% to 20%. We still need some time to get back to this normal level. About the cash flow, I think the key reason in Q1 was there some delay of the payment from the key partners because either like shut off of the office or some other reasons. And in Q2 so far we see a very accelerated payment from the brand and back to the normal side, even faster than what we expected. So I think we are pretty positive on the cash flow in the later quarter, even if there is no further deterioration of the macro issues. Thank you.
Thanks. Very helpful.
Thank you. ladies and gentlemen, that ends our Q&A session, and I'd like to hand the conference back to Ms. Wendy Sun.
Thank you, operator. In closing, on behalf of the Baozun management team, we'd like to thank you all for your participation in today's call. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach us to us. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish everyone stay healthy. This concludes the call.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the conference for today, and thank you for participating. You may now all disconnect.